coming down from Russia, and it's going to get to about -5 or -8 in the southeast of England over the course of the weekend. I'm in the north of England, northwest of England, and it was 0 last night when I finally turned in. It's cold this morning, though.
Yeah, our favorite friend in America would probably say there's nothing cold coming from Russia.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes, so thank you for the message this morning. I popped it up on Facebook. Today we are going to talk a little bit about Seth Godin and his book, Linchpin, and your beliefs as well as his in making yourself indispensable.
Well, that's right. And we've talked about, we've talked at some length about my intellectual heroes collectively in the last 5 or 6 weeks. And I thought as the weeks unfold, what we might want to do is perhaps drill down specifically on certain writings or ideas of each of the intellectual heroes that I've got that have contributed to the business model that has materialized over the last 6 or 7 years and have a conversation about those. So today, the idea of becoming indispensable, which runs from a book by Seth Godin called Linchpin.
Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at it yet, but I sent you an article in Forbes where they did a review of the book, and a review of sorts, I guess. And the writer, although he admitted to loving Seth Godin and the man himself in the way that he writes, he had some issues with the idea of being indispensable. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there you go, right? So this is what's so great about Seth Godin, right? Seth will lay out what he's thinking about things and articulate it in his writings. And, he makes the point that, you should try to make yourself indispensable. Now, when you become indispensable, if you're operating your own business as I am, that converts itself into an amazing proposition, because if you are truly indispensable, then your future is guaranteed. The point that he makes in terms of being an employee and being indispensable is the fact that, companies in the industrial economy are structured in such a way as to have interchangeable parts. And if you've got interchangeable parts, in a sense, you become a threat to the company, because if you are indispensable, then the company is completely wholly and totally reliant upon you.
So then it's.
So I think the.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah. So I think the Forbes article, the guy, and I did read it, by the way, he makes a fair point where he says if you make yourself indispensable, you actually become a threat to the company. In a sense, what you're going to do is put a gun to your head, because no company is going to allow any individual to be able to hold the fortunes of the company hostage to, the contribution of that individual, which is fair comment. However, my view is that we're living in a connection economy, not an industrial economy. And as you're thinking about your proposition going forward, as a business owner, you have to make yourself indispensable. And the threat of an employee, in a sense, becoming so indispensable in the connection economy is less and less relevant, I feel, because there's so many different ways to construct the hierarchy of your business to the effect that you don't have to worry about individuals being indispensable to that degree. It's the entity, the enterprise, the proposition that's indispensable, not individuals. Having said that, if you are able to nurture any particular individual in your connection economy business to the extent that they're such an amazing performer, then, all to the good. But, savvy business ownership and management suggests that you never allow any individual to become indispensable nonetheless. So I think it's a moot point. So the Forbes article really does speak to industrial economy logic, not connection economy logic. I've got a lot of respect for the view, but you've got to look forward into the connection world, not the industrial world, as that writer did.
And do you think that Seth Godin, is really talking more to entrepreneurs and business owners being indispensable to their customers, rather than an employee tool?
In the book, he's making the point that indispensability is a completely laudable thing or end in of itself. Of course, if you're managing a business, you want to make sure that no single individual is ever going to make themselves so important to it that the business is going to be totally reliant upon it. But having said that, which business owner do you know, Jason, that would discourage any individual employee to become the best that they could possibly be and contribute to the best possible end that they can in that business, because those are the perfect employees. The trick, of course, is good management and not to allow any individual to be able to hold the fortunes of your company hostage.
Sure, I think it's that double-sided coin of you want all of the attributes of somebody who's indispensable without them believing that your business wouldn't run without them, because that then just brings a negative connotation to it. So in your business, what have you applied to make yourself indispensable to your tribe?
Well, it's one of those things. Indispensability is not something that I think ultimately you... Well, let me back up a little bit. When I set off, I didn't set off with the idea that I was going to seek to make myself indispensable. But after about 3 years ago, I had an incident over Christmas where, for one reason or another, all our websites went down for about 8 days.
Ooh, I remember that.
We got hit with a WordPress vulnerability. And when we went down, I got a flurry. I got about 80 emails over the course of the week. When's the website back up? When's the website back up? When's the website back up? Because what had happened in the intervening years is that, whilst we've been publishing over time and producing content that helps answer questions and solve problems and all the rest of that good stuff, there was the tribe that was building, and they were increasingly, going to the website in anticipation that they're always going to be able to get everything that they needed to help them with their immigration issues by being on our websites. So lo and behold, through no fault of our own, when the websites went down, we got inundated with emails from parties saying, when's the website back up? And it became clear to me at that point, my goodness me, we've actually achieved linchpin status, because there's the 70, 80 people here that find us indispensable. So, as I say, I learned that really sort of via the back door, that we become indispensable. And then it alerted me to the fact that Seth was completely on the ball when he talks about, becoming indispensable. And that's what we were able to achieve in that guise.
Now, one of the other facets that you're developing is developing a monopoly. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, the idea behind building a monopoly is to create such a compelling proposition that people want to deal with you and they don't want to deal with anybody else. So I guess monopoly status ultimately might result from becoming indispensable. But again, this is all about Seth Godin really just about articulating his acute understanding of the dynamics of the connection economy and the things that will result if you go about doing it the right way. The connection economy, as we discussed ad nauseum, is all about relationships. The industrial economy is all about process system. It's all about policies. It's all about businesses really sort of having their organizational structure designed for the benefit of the business, and not for the party that wants to have a relationship with that business. So we've discovered in Hong Kong immigration that if you answer people's questions and help them solve problems and give them all the information that they need to make informed decisions about how to go about addressing the challenges that they're facing in the particular area that you've got an expertise in. If you publish to that niche and you make all your information available for free, you shift the ground from underneath the feet of your competition, and people want to deal with you rather than deal with anybody else, and therefore you forge the basis of a monopoly, and aligned with that, of course, is the notion of indispensability to boot.
Now, if you talk in the connection economy about it all being about relationships, what can those relationships withstand when you are required to change your prices?
Well, that's a great question. We've obviously increased our prices over the course of the last 7 years and met no pricing resistance whatsoever. But part of the dynamic of building a monopoly is to have such an irresistible proposition, and have indeed an irresistible offer. And our irresistible offer is a 200% money back guarantee. So when you count away the totality of your proposition versus the pricing, as long as it's within reach of your market, and it's designed in such a way that people would want to transact with you because it is so compelling, then price challenges just disappear. I mean, for example, let me point that back at you, right? If somebody came along and said to you, okay, Jason, please buy this car off me. The price is $100, and that's just, take it, pay, and then drive it away. Or the price is $200, but if you have a breakdown in the first 1 month, or if there's any challenges that present itself within 1 month, then we will not only fix it for you, but we will also cover the cost of you not having that vehicle available to you. We'll cover the cost of a rental car, or we'll drive you around, or we'll do what we need to do until the car's back on the road. But it's now going to cost you $150. Which option would you take, the $100 option or the $150 option? If you started off in your own mind that you're probably going to pay about $200 for something, like that anyway.
Well, you said many years ago to me there are two kinds of people in the world: those who don't like to pay and those who like to pay. I have always not been afraid of paying, but what I do demand is peace of mind, and I would buy the more expensive peace of mind option.
Exactly.
That's my nature.
Indeed, and not everybody's going to go for that, because there are always going to be people that just want to pay the lowest amount of price, the lowest price that they can pay, and that there's nothing wrong with that. But your intention is to build an irresistible offer, and so that it makes it completely seamless for them to transact with you. It makes it essentially a no-brainer, really, for them to pay the price that you're asking.
Now, one of the other things you've said to me over the years is that you have had occasion where you've had to give double money back, and you've never seen it as a loss. You've always seen it as an asset. And explain that a little bit more.
Well, okay, so it goes like this, right? In order to offer, as we do, a 200% money-back guarantee, you have to have a very high level of confidence in your capabilities. And so you're able, as an expert in your particular niche, to assess the circumstances you've got before you, and you know that you can actually get the outcome that the customer's ready to pay for. So when the customer comes into it, the customer doesn't have your expertise, doesn't have your know-how. They're dealing with you, for that very reason. So the only party in that relationship who can assess the risk, in this instance, is me, not the customer. So when I put myself in in the position where I offer a double your money back guarantee, I've got a very, very high level of confidence that I'm never going to have to deliver on that. But let's say that, for example, out of 100 transactions that I put out there, where I've gone through the risk assessment process, and I'm very, very confident that there's a almost 100% chance that all those 100 applications are going to get approved. If it just so happens that, let's say, 2 of them get refused, that means that I've actually had 98 people that have paid me, my full fee, have been happy to transact with me because they know damn well that I'm going to give them everything that I possibly can in order to get the solution that they've come to me for. And for those 2 people that, as it happens, don't go on to get approved, so I have to give double the money back, right? So that means essentially what I've done is I've been able to get 96 full paying customers that have transacted with me without a moment's hesitation, knowing that actually ultimately the cost of 4 of them, even though there's only 2 because I'm giving double your money back, the cost of 4 of those cases are actually going to have to be, the money's given back. Of course, I've got the cost of delivering the service as well. So let's say that when you factor in the cost of delivering the service, it's another 100% on top of that. So essentially what I've done is I've been able to get 90 out of the revenue from 90 customers out of delivering essentially 100 services. But for all practical purposes, every single one of those 90 who's given me their money have never had a moment's hesitation about transacting with us. So I've never had to worry about price. I've never had to worry about competition. I've just never had to worry about anything because it's an irresistible offer. Well, that's a pretty good strike rate, right? And in any event, if I have to give money back and I'm actually publishing for free as I do using WordPress, then for all practical purposes, the cost of giving the money back is just the cost of marketing, which I don't have to incur anyway. So, it's a virtuous web, if you get my drift.
Okay. And if we go back to the idea that it's a relationship and you are unable to deliver a service and it's beyond your control, what then happens to that relationship? Because yours is obviously a unique proposition in that you offer a visa service. So
yeah. So we go through a risk assessment process with every single client that comes before us, and we make a determination as to whether we think we can really deliver the outcome. We make it very clear to the customer what's expected of them in order for us to be able to deliver on the outcome. But I can tell you, Jason, on the few occasions that I've had to give money back, I just give it back irrespective of where the fault lies. I mean, it's just the value in having an untarnished, unblemished in the marketplace. It's just not worth having arguments with customers who haven't delivered on their side. Just give them double their money back and just move on, because you walk away with a reputation, with your reputation intact. On the 5 or 6 occasions in the last few years where we've had to give money back, I think it's fair to say that 3 or 4 of them have actually referred other customers to us because of the respected way that we've treated them. So it's win-win, but it's counterintuitive. People don't understand it, but that's the beauty of the connection economy, right? Word spreads.
And do you think that principle would apply across other businesses?
Well, I mean, this is the beauty of the connection economy, and the environment that it engenders for the creation of business propositions. You get the opportunity to disaggregate and reaggregate value because of the nature of the connection economy. It means you can come up with something that's unique and interesting. You as a business owner will understand your niche incredibly well, better than anybody else. And if you take on board the general ideas that we've enunciated in our intelligent content marketing website and the whole idea of intelligent content marketing, and you apply those ideas against your expertise in your niche and your understanding of how that market works, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be able to come up with something that would suggest that these concepts and ideas that we've got in our proposition are equally applicable in others. There's kind of some businesses where the way that we've applied the intelligent content marketing ideas to our business will not work because of the nature of what you do. But I think it's fair to say that if you're delivering any kind of service, there's a very good chance that these ideas will be readily applicable to to the way that you operate. But I think we may have discussed this a little bit last week, right? There's some areas of economic activity that are just apples and oranges, and they're just not going to work. Retail, for example. Although having said that, there are things that you can do with retail if you're if you're a little bit creative about matters and you're prepared to niche down particularly. But having said that, not every area is going to be suitably applicable. But the world is changing, and you've got to move on, right? And if nothing else, I would hope that what we share with Intelligent Content Marketing, the website there, is at least going to make other business owners or give other business owners pause for thought and let them appreciate that the world is changing, and if nothing changes, nothing changes. So who knows? It'd be great if somebody comes along our website and takes the ideas that have been applied in the professional service niche, and then can see that they could be applied in other niches that are not related to professional services, and they come up with a variation on the theme. That's a major win for me, because as Seth Godin says, ideas that spread win.
I've just received a question actually via WhatsApp. Have you, and I know how your business model works, so I'd rather let you answer the question. Have you ever been in the situation when you haven't been paid by a client after the service has been rendered?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times, and what can you do? You do your normal sort of try and chase them and seek to get paid. But I'm not in the business of litigating against anybody. I mean, our fees our maximum fee is about $3,000 US, and if a client is genuinely not going to pay because they've got their own reasons not to pay, I just move on and realize that at some stage in the future, if they have other issues in relation to immigration, they no longer have access to our expertise, and we will not be in a position to help them. There's always going to be some people that for one reason or another just don't want to pay you. Having said that, Jason, part of one of the advantages of having a 200% money back guarantee is that you get paid up front, and so we generally don't engage until we've got their money in our bank account, and that's the quid pro quo.
Yeah. You spoke about your money back guarantee. I'll give you an example of what I experienced a little while ago. Now, Marks and Sparks have always had a great policy of, if it doesn't fit, bring it back, and they just change it. No questions asked, no nothing. And I bought some gifts for my father a little while ago, and like a muppet, I bought all the wrong sizes. So I took it back to Woolies. I don't keep slips, so I never had the slip. I said, there's the bag. Actually, I didn't even have the bag. I put everything in one of those like birthday bag things, and I just took it in, and there wasn't even a question. They even helped me find the right sizes of the products. It was, as always, a good experience. And then I bought a mate of mine some clothes for his birthday from a shop that's up here in the mountains. And when, again, I bought the wrong bloody sizes. I seem to have a problem with that. And I took it back into the shop, and I didn't have the slip, and their computers were offline. The woman remembered me and had the clothes. They hadn't been worn. They just didn't fit. And she said, no, you can't change them because you don't have the slip. And I said, but you and I had a conversation about my credit card number. Actually, what they want to do is they want to put your credit card number on their computer system, which I didn't allow them to do for obvious reasons. And she said, yeah, I remember we had a conversation. It was last week, but still, no, you can't change your clothes. So I said, but I bought these from you and they don't fit. I want exactly the same things. And all I want is a bigger size. And we had this backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Eventually, they changed them, but I'll never walk back into that shop again. It could have been such an easy transaction, and yet it became so difficult.
It's because they put the interests of the company first and not your interests first, which is stupid, because they're in business to actually have relationships with people. They want people to come in and actually transact with them and part with their money in exchange for goods. So why make it difficult to transact with you? It's just completely counterproductive, and that's classic industrial economy logic and not connection economy logic. And if you think about it, right? The cost of the goods that they supply to you. If in retail, they were probably on 100%, maybe 200% markup. I mean, it's difficult to sort of set a gauge completely. But if you think that their cost of goods, including getting it shipped and displayed in the store, was a third of the price that you paid. So what's their risk in actually doing what they needed to do in order to make you happy, so that you would definitely choose them next time rather than going somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff is just leaving themselves open for the competition to come and steal a march on them.
Absolutely.
In the industrial economy, you
No, carry on.
Yeah, so in the industrial economy, you could get away with that nonsense, but in the connection economy, you can't anymore, because you're going to come out of that experience, and you're just, one Facebook post away of telling everybody that you know what a very poor experience you've had there, and what's that going to do for that business going forward? Completely counterproductive.
And your thoughts on all of these platforms where people do have the ability to voice their thoughts, worthwhile or not? Dangerous?
No, because most people are, before they embark on a purchase, they're going to do their research and they're going to try and de-risk, the decision that they're making in regard to that expenditure. And if there's anything to be found on the internet, which irrespective of where you might find it, that speaks negatively to an experience that somebody's had with that business, it's going to put you off, right?
You and I both travel quite a lot. And I've always used an online platform to book hotels, and I will read the reviews. I'll have a look at the hotel, but even if there's a negative review, it doesn't bother me. What the most important thing for me is the response of the hotel to the comment. How do you engage online?
I agree with that completely. There's two sides to every story, and I'm interested to see what the the party that's being moaned about, what has their response been to, because that speaks to their attitude towards solving problems. How if I encounter any problems, that's going to be solved in the future. So I agree with you. It's not so much the fact that somebody's made a complaint, because anybody can, any keyboard warrior can get on the internet and moan about something. It's really about what the party that you're going to be transacting with has to say about it. But to take that point, I agree with you. I think one of the ways that the world's car hire industry could really improve their lot is the way that you get treated as a customer at the point of checking in to hire a car. I did this with a Europa car again, and for my sins, and I don't know why I did it. When I arrived in England this time, I pre-booked a car via the web, and I looked for a vendor that was going to basically promise me there was not going to be any hidden surprises, at the point of check-in. And lo and behold, irrespective of all the representations that were made at the point of paying by credit card on the web, pre-booking the car, there wasn't going to be any extra charges. There wasn't going to be any shenanigans. All I wanted to do was to present my driver's license, and present the papers that they needed in order for me to be able to complete the hire, and then get the keys and get on with it. But no, when I got there was this, there was that, and this didn't apply and that didn't apply. So here I am having a conversation with a customer service agent, and I'm thinking, they've done it all again. What's so hard about forging a transaction when you're renting a car where you can have a very simple, this is what you're paying for and this is what you get, and then you can make a decision at the point of purchasing via the web that what you see is what you get, and that's it. What's so hard about that? Why does it always have to be a case of, what you promised on the web is completely offset with what you're experiencing when you pick up the keys? Every time I've hired a car, it's been the same old thing. Simple point of differentiation, I believe, for any car hire company is to say, state it bold wherever you are. What you see is what you get, period. Doesn't happen. Stupid. Great opportunity for disruption.
I remember when you and I went to London, we got a car. That was a very fast car. I don't remember any problems when we picked it up. What did they say on Top Gear? The fastest car in the world is a hired one.
The only problem I had with that experience, Jason, was when you were behind the wheel, when you were driving 50% faster than I do.
If it's a higher car, you've got to push the limits.
Well, there you go. Well, what do you expect? When I'm driving along with a mate who's an aerobic, not an aerobic, acrobatic airman.
Yeah,
no, an acrobatic. Well, how do you do? What do you do? It's acrobatic stunts, right?
Yeah,
aerobatics. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, tell me when you're heading back to Hong Kong.
Sunday morning, and I leave Manchester Sunday morning, and I'll be back in Hong Kong at 7:00 Monday morning, and straight into a full day of meetings, all the normal stuff. So we'll be speaking from Hong Kong this time next week, sir.
And Chinese New Year finishes over this weekend, or it's next week early?
Well, in Hong Kong it technically finished on Tuesday. My office was closed Wednesday, Thursday because a couple of the days for Chinese New Year fell on the weekend this year. So we didn't actually open for business properly stated until Thursday. But we'll only really get into gear again from Monday when China comes back, because China's off for the whole week. You know, when China catches a cold, Hong Kong sneezes.
Sure. Fantastic. Thanks very much for your time this morning. We'll catch up again next week from Hong Kong.
Carry on being an indispensable radio broadcaster, sir. You're doing great work.
Have a good weekend. Ta-ra.